Hello, and welcome to Working with Basic Imaging. So what's more basic than importing an image, right? So I've already built a stack for you, and as you can see the stack has a viewport, which is this checkerboard pattern. It's a nice bottom bar, a button for importing, and then we have an area where we can add tools or other things that we do in later tutorials. So what is more basic than just importing an image? So let's just look at our script here, and I'm going to bring this up on screen if it ever allows me to select it. Come on. Come on. And I'm not exactly sure where this cuts off. So on mouse down and mouse up we have a button action that just makes a very nice UI. But this basic IAM import, that's what we're looking for. So that's this command here. And all we're doing is having it to answer file, please select a file with type. And we list all the types that Livecode supports for at least the Mac. So if that's empty, we end if. And if it's not empty, we set the default to basic imaging. So the default stack will be basic imaging. And then we just import paint from file it. Yes, very basic. A lot of people have done this, and it doesn't really work. So you see this right here. Works, but not really. Well, the best way to see why it doesn't work is to show you. So we'll push our button to import an image, and hopefully we do get the dialog. And here it is. Stuff is a little slow when we are working in this stuff. So here are two big files here in the front. And I know this one here is quite a large picture. So I'm going to hit open this. And as you can see, the picture is bigger than an entire window. It's bigger than the GUI. Well, wait a second. That's not going to help us out. And that's not going to help anyone out that's making an imaging application to import an image that's supposed to go into this viewport here, cover your GUI. It just doesn't work. We can't use this. So let's just delete that picture. We know that does not work. Okay, so obviously we're going to have to scale that image to fit within our viewport, right? Yeah, obviously. So let's go to RP import better. And so this particular command down here, it's a little bit better than the last command. So let's go to that one. And since we're going to go to that, let's just bring this one up. And let's just delete that one. Let's just get rid of that. Okay? We don't even need that. And just in case this screen capture doesn't work, I'll go paste that into my side text editor. Okay. So now we are looking at this next command here so we can see what's going on. I'm going to bring it up a little bit on screen. And let's make sure that you can see that on screen because I'm not exactly sure where this cutoff is. So I think it's somewhere right around in this area. So now we're doing the same thing. We're answering the file, checking that thing out. If it's empty, then this time we are locking the screen. Set the default. We're doing that. Same thing. Input from paint it. Then we're putting the name of the last image into T image name. Oh, so the last image that was imported now gets T image name. Okay. And now we're taking that viewport you saw and we're getting the height and width of it. And what we're doing is we're setting T image name to the height and width of that. And to make sure everything is hunky-dory and will be centered, we are also adding these two commands up here. So we're going to put the location of graphic rec, this one right here, into center. So that means the location that's returned from this graphic brings us to dead center. So that dead center would be about right here. I think if I'm clicking on screen you should see that. And then we're setting the location of that last image to that T center. So it's dead center. So we make sure it's going to fit completely within there. Now, as you can see in the script editor, this is better but still not good. And the only way to really see it is to see it happen. So let's take that same image This time we're going to make sure you can see it all on here. We're going to open that up. And, whoa, it didn't even work. It didn't even go into the location where we wanted it to. As you can see, though, obviously our little code here where we wanted to make sure that put the location of graphic, T-center, the last image. So actually what we probably should have done is take this here and probably added it to the bottom of this script here. How much you want to bet that works? But as you can see even on screen what happened there, when I moved it to the location it was supposed to go into, obviously you still see I moved it in there, so it still fit within that location. That's really not the aspect ratio of that image. Not at all. And if you don't believe me, let's try it again. And hopefully that works this time. It does. And actually, it does cover that up somewhat. But let's even try another image here, just to see. We get another image that maybe even distorts more, like this one here per se. Boom. Look at that. You can tell even by when you do the import there that this is a long horizontal image. And what it's doing is it's squeezing it within that size. Well, that's not good at all, right? Because, you know, that image should be something like, and let's just grab it here, it should be something like that, right? It should be about that size. Well, that doesn't help you if you're making an imaging application. So let's get rid of that. So again, that doesn't help you either. So because that doesn't help you, let's just grab that. I'm going to copy it just in case the screen capture does die on me, and I'll paste it to my editor, a little text editor there. But let's just delete that because we know that's not going to work for us. Okay? Boom. Now this should work with our new one. So our new one is a little bit different. At this point, what are we doing different? We want to make sure that, one, yes, the image does scale. It does import, but at this time, it keeps the aspect ratio, the original aspect ratio of the image. So if that image is larger than our viewport, we want to make sure it scales at the same ratio. So it's not distorted, you know? Because what more pisses off a user than a distorted image, right? So let's take a look at what we got. It's not much different than we had before. Let's hit this compile thing. It's not much different at all than the last one. We're still answering the file if it's empty, and if we're locking the screen, we're putting it into tNewImage. We're still getting the viewport data like the last one we did. We're still setting the default. We're still importing from Paint. We're still getting the name of the last image. We're still getting the width of the current image. But now we're doing something different. Now we're doing some basic division. So we're taking the width of the image, the formatted width, and we're going to divide that by t-width. Now if you remember what was t-width, t-width and t-height were the viewport width and height. So we're taking the viewport width and height and the image width and height, and we're dividing them together. And what does that give us? That gives us, right here, a ratio. Well, it's not really a ratio, it gives us the scale factor of the image. So if you ever did scaling and ever seen a scale factor is like 2, 3, it returns really a small single digit. So if you divided those two figures together, it'd be like maybe 2.3 and it rounds it to the top, or 3.1. So we're taking that and it's giving us a scale factor. So then what we do is we take that original image height and width and we take that scale factor and we divide that again. And we do that for both the width and the height, but as you can see is the height, the formatted height, is actually scaled to the scale factor ratio of the width, and vice versa. So that gives us a new height and width that is in the correct aspect ratio of the height and width that we need. So the last thing what we do here is we make sure that image that we are importing is actually larger than this area. And to do so, we're just doing that by seeing if the aspect ratio or the height is greater. And if not, we just set the width and height of that image to the aspect ratio width and to the height of the image, or vice versa. So it's very basic mathematics coming into play here. And let's see it happen. Let's see it actually happen. We'll try it with both the images that we opened up. So first one was this image. Wham! As you can see, there is the correct aspect ratio for that image, perfectly on screen. Now I haven't added delete, so I'm just going to have to select it and hit delete. Let's bring in that other image that we had too. This real wide, narrow one. And import that, and boom. The correct aspect ratio within our viewport, perfect. Now at this point, we can do a lot of different things. We can even, because now we have the perfect aspect ratio scale factor, it's all set. We can actually take this and we can zoom in and zoom out this image by using that aspect ratio. So it's very simply done. It's some very basic mathematics. And everything that you do with imaging, with Livecode, if you're using the image data, which returns the RGB and alpha values, you can take that, and by using some basic mathematic formulas, which a lot of them can be found on the internet or in some very basic algorithm and graphic processing and mathematic books. There's a lot of books, great ones on Amazon. You can find them in libraries. Give you a lot of the algorithms that you need to do some very advanced mathematics for imaging. Stuff like the GIMP, stuff like Photoshop can be done with Livecode, and it's really not that hard. So this is the very basic of importing. Maybe I'll do another one on exporting and then doing some things with image data so you can see how to use image data. So hopefully you enjoyed this as a very basic intro to importing images into Livecode. And I have a photography background, so I'd rather see you bring in an image that's scaled perfectly into the viewport than bringing an image that is scaled not to the aspect ratio of the image. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and have fun.